Every morning before the world tries to tell you who you are, you must remind yourself who you are becoming. When I started out, I had no money, no connections, no special talents, just one habit. Every morning I spoke to myself, not because I was crazy, but because the world is loud and I needed to be louder inside. Say these 5 lines to yourself. What we repeatedly say to ourselves becomes the script that runs in our minds. This script influences how we think, how we feel, how we act, and ultimately how we view ourselves and our potential. Self-talk is not just a casual habit. It's the quiet architect of our identity. Whether we're aware of it or not, we are always talking to ourselves, narrating, interpreting, judging, and predicting. The tone and content of this inner dialogue play a decisive role in shaping our beliefs. Imagine waking up and the first thing your mind tells you is, I'm not good enough. Today is going to be hard. I always mess things up. Even if the day hasn't started yet, your mind has already painted it with negativity. On the other hand, if you start with, I can handle what comes. Every day is a chance to improve. I've overcome worse. Your brain begins to believe those messages. It's not magic. It's psychology. Self-belief is not some inborn trait that only lucky people have. It's something built brick by brick, thought by thought. The bricks are laid through repetition. When the brain hears something often enough, it starts to accept it as truth. This is how people can be held back not by reality, but by the version of reality they've accepted through repeated negative self-talk. Conversely, this is also how people rise from difficult backgrounds, failures, and rejections. By choosing different words when speaking to themselves, self-talk shapes belief because it determines what we focus on. The brain is like a GPS. It goes where you tell it to go. If your self-talk is focused on fear, failure, and doubt, your mind will constantly seek evidence to support those feelings. You'll notice every mistake, every shortcoming, and every sign that affirms your fear. But if your self-talk is focused on resilience, learning, and opportunity, your brain will begin to filter the world through a more empowering lens. You'll start to notice your small wins, your ability to adapt, your inner strength. You're not lying to yourself. You're simply training your mind to look beyond fear and see potential. Another way self-talk shapes belief is through emotional conditioning. Every time you say something to yourself, you're creating an emotional response that your body and mind begin to associate with that thought. Say, I'm always going to fail, and your body feels tense. Your mind withdraws. Your motivation drops. Say, I'm still learning and I'll get better, and your body relaxes. Your focus improves, and you're more likely to take action. This emotional link between self-talk and behavior is critical. It means that what you say to yourself doesn't just stay in your head. It becomes how you act. Also consider how self-talk influences risk, taking, and resilience. If your internal dialogue supports you with thoughts like, I can figure this out, or I've been through worse, you're more likely to take action even when the outcome is uncertain. But if your mind is flooded with, I can't do this, or what if I fail again, you hesitate, you stall, or worse, you give up before trying. Belief isn't tested in success. It's revealed in how you respond when success isn't guaranteed. And in those moments, your self-talk becomes either a weapon or a weakness. The most powerful voices in our lives are not the ones coming from outside. They're the ones inside our heads. You could have hundreds of people cheering you on, but if your self-talk is filled with doubt and criticism, it won't matter. At the same time, you could be surrounded by skepticism or even silence. But if your self-talk is strong and clear, you will keep moving forward. That's the difference between people who break down under pressure and those who break through it. It all begins with what they say when no one else is listening. Self-talk is also contagious in our behavior. When you believe in yourself, you carry yourself differently. You speak with more clarity. You take decisions with more courage. And others begin to respond to you differently. 2. Confidence is not just a feeling. It's a reflection of what you've been telling yourself for days, weeks, and years. Over time, that inner voice becomes your default. It becomes a foundation on which your habits, your choices, and your goals are built. The first moments of the morning are more powerful than most people realize. They are the mental and emotional launch pad for the rest of the day. before emails, messages, noise, and distractions flood in. The mind is in a uniquely open and impressionable state. What you do, think, and say during this window doesn't just influence how your morning unfolds. It sets the emotional rhythm, cognitive pace, and decision-making quality for hours to come. In that short window, you're not reacting to the world. You're creating your mindset for it. When you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, scroll through notifications, or check social media, your mind is instantly pulled into a reactive mode. You're consuming before creating. You're responding before reflecting. That single decision to start the day with outside noise subtly tells your brain that the world controls your time and attention. And once that pattern is set, it's hard to break. You spend the rest of the day catching up, feeling behind, and wondering why your thoughts are scattered. But the opposite is also true. When you start your day with intention, whether it's silence, reading, stretching, writing, or simply thinking, the mind becomes grounded. You're not pulled by external chaos. Instead, you're led by internal clarity. This doesn't mean your day will be perfect or free from challenges, but it means you'll be more prepared to face those challenges with stability instead of stress. What happens in the morning creates the filter through which everything else is experienced. There's also a biological component to this. In the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking, the brain is transitioning from deep rest to active alertness. Hormones like cortisol and dopamine rise, preparing the body for attention and movement. This transition period is when habits, thoughts, and emotions can deeply imprint themselves. That's why morning routines have such a long-term impact. A morning full of stress and rush wires your brain for survival mode. But a calm, structured morning, one that includes affirmations, gratitude, or movement, signals safety, focus, and control. Morning rituals don't have to be long or complicated to be effective. Even small actions like making your bed, writing down 3 goals, or telling yourself something positive can shift your entire mental state. It's not about the ritual itself, but the message it sends to your subconscious. I'm in charge of my day. I decide how I begin. This message, repeated daily, builds personal discipline and mental confidence. It builds identity. The way you speak to yourself in the morning also plays a massive role. Internal dialogue first thing in the day sets the tone for your emotional resilience. If your first thoughts are self-critical, I'm already late. I can't keep up. Why am I so tired? You begin in deficit. That negativity may seem small, but it plants seeds of self-doubt. Over time, those seeds grow into patterns of stress, avoidance, and burnout. On the other hand, even a simple mental line like "let's go win today" or "one step at a time" can flip the entire emotional climate of your day before it begins. In many ways, the morning is a rehearsal for everything that follows. If you move with intention, focus, and self-respect in the first hour, you're more likely to make choices that align with those values throughout the day. If you move through the morning with haste, frustration, or distraction, that pattern tends to follow you like a shadow. The tone you set becomes the soundtrack you carry, whether you're aware of it or not. Time in the morning feels different because it is different. There's less noise, fewer demands, and more space to think. That space is rare, and what you fill it with matters. Many high performers, creatives, and entrepreneurs defend their mornings fiercely, not just to get more done, but because they know that the state of mind they create early will show up in every meeting, conversation, and decision they face. It's less about productivity and more about emotional ownership. It's less about how much you do and more about who you are becoming when you do it. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a choice. That's the fundamental difference between the two, and it explains why so many people struggle to stay consistent with their goals. Motivation comes and goes like the weather, unpredictable, fleeting, and largely outside of your control. One day, you're fired up, ready to take on the world. The next day, you're tired, distracted, or discouraged. If your progress depends on how motivated you feel, your journey will be inconsistent, slow, and often disappointing. Discipline, however, doesn't rely on how you feel. It's not about energy spikes or emotional highs. It's about commitment to a system, a routine, or a standard, regardless of whether you're excited or exhausted. People who rely on discipline understand that showing up is more important than showing off. They get the work done whether they feel like it or not. That's where real transformation begins, when action becomes non-negotiable. It's easy to start something when you're motivated. Signing up at the gym, launching a project, or declaring a new goal feels good in the moment. That burst of inspiration gives you momentum, but momentum without discipline eventually fades. What separates amateurs from professionals, wishful thinkers from doers, is what happens after motivation wears off. Do you keep going when it's boring? When it's slow, when no one is watching? That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is built through repetition. Every time you choose to act without waiting to feel inspired, you're rewiring your brain to respond to commitment instead of comfort. That repetition builds mental toughness. It teaches you that discomfort is not a reason to stop. It's a signal to keep moving. And as you keep moving, something powerful begins to happen. Your identity shifts. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who wants to be productive or healthy or successful, and you start becoming someone who is. People often say, I need to get motivated. But waiting for motivation is like waiting for perfect weather before you leave the house. You'll miss opportunities, waste time, and build a habit of procrastination. Discipline says, I'll go now regardless of the weather. It's a practice of showing up on the hard days, the dull days, the ordinary days, because that's when most people quit. And when most people quit, those who are disciplined keep separating themselves from the crowd. There's also a deep emotional benefit to choosing discipline over motivation. Motivation is a roller coaster. It gives you highs and then drops you into self-doubt when it disappears. Discipline, on the other hand, gives you stability. It creates a rhythm in your life. That builds confidence. You begin to trust yourself because you've proven over and over that you'll do what needs to be done even if you don't feel like it. That self-trust becomes a powerful engine. It doesn't need fuel from outside sources. It runs on personal integrity. Discipline also protects your goals from your mood. You might feel frustrated, tired, uninspired, but the disciplined person still writes the page, finishes a workout, practices a skill, or solves a problem. That level of consistency compounds. It creates visible results where others only have good intentions. It's not about being perfect. It's about being reliable. The disciplined person understands that missing one day is human, but missing 5 days is a choice. Another aspect of discipline is its relationship with time. Motivated people often chase quick wins. Disciplined people build long-term systems. They understand that one big push means little if it's not repeated. So instead of asking, what can I do when I'm inspired? They ask, what's the smallest thing I can do daily that moves me forward? That shift in thinking creates a lifestyle, not a moment. And in the long run, lifestyles beat moments every time. Discipline is also deeply connected to freedom. It may sound like the opposite. Rules, structure, routine, but in reality, discipline creates the space for freedom by eliminating chaos and indecision. When your actions are anchored in discipline, you spend less time negotiating with yourself, less time feeling guilty, and less time starting over. Perfection is an illusion, a moving target that no one ever fully reaches. Yet, many people hold themselves back trying to chase it, waiting until the plan is flawless, the skill is mastered, or the timing feels just right. In doing so, they often miss the most important part of progress, the willingness to start, stumble, and learn. Growth, unlike perfection, is real, attainable, and powerful. It's not about getting everything right. It's about getting better step by step. Focusing on growth means embracing the idea that mistakes are not failures, they are feedback. Every setback, error, or misstep contains information that can be used to improve. Those who chase perfection fear these moments because they view them as evidence of inadequacy. But those who focus on growth see the same moments as necessary parts of development. They understand that skill, confidence, and success are built through repetition, correction, and refinement, not by getting everything perfect the first time. The pressure to be perfect can be paralyzing. It creates unrealistic expectations that drain motivation and kill momentum. It leads to procrastination disguised as preparation, to silence disguised as humility, and to quitting disguised as standards. Growth, on the other hand, is liberating. It allows room to begin before you're ready, to be messy while you learn, and to evolve with each attempt. Growth is honest. It doesn't demand that you impress others. It demands that you keep going even when it's uncomfortable. When people aim for perfection, they often compare themselves to the finished product of others. They see someone's success, polished skills, or confident presentation, and forget that what they're seeing is a result of years of failure, practice, and learning. Growth mindset reminds us that no one starts at the top. Everyone begins as a beginner. Progress is earned through persistence, not inherited through talent. By focusing on growth, you avoid the trap of envy and embrace the power of personal pace. Growth-oriented people measure success differently. Instead of asking, "Did I do this perfectly?" they ask, "Did I improve?" That small shift changes how they handle pressure, how they recover from mistakes, and how they define their journey. They stop fearing criticism because they see it as part of the process. They don't collapse under failure because they've trained themselves to look for lessons. Their identity isn't built on being flawless. It's built on being flexible. Another key aspect of focusing on growth is patience. Perfection is impatient. It expects rapid results and immediate mastery. Growth is patient. It accepts that excellence takes time, repetition, and resilience. People who focus on growth don't just learn how to win. They learn how to endure, how to adapt, and how to outlast. They realize that small improvements compounded daily lead to big breakthroughs over time. Even a 1% improvement today matters if repeated consistently. Growth mindset also encourages self-compassion. Instead of punishing yourself for every mistake, you begin to appreciate your own effort. You acknowledge the gap between where you are and where you want to be without judging yourself harshly for not being there yet. This mindset fuels motivation rather than draining it. It allows you to stay engaged even on the hard days because you're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to be better than yesterday. In creative work, sports, business, relationships, every area of life, perfection is the enemy of action. People wait to speak until their words sound perfect. Wait to launch until their product is flawless. Wait to try until they feel certain. Growth doesn't wait. Growth begins. It rewards the person who takes messy action, learns in real time, and refines us along the way. It values progress over polish and movement over mastery. Perfection is static. Growth is dynamic. Perfection is final. Growth is continuous. When your mindset shifts from "I must be perfect" to "I must keep learning," everything changes. Mental resilience is not something you're born with. It's something you build. It's not a trait reserved for the naturally tough or the unusually confident. It's a skill like any other that grows through repetition, stress, and recovery. Most people think resilience shows up in the big moments during a crisis, a loss, or a major failure. But the truth is, it's shaped long before those moments. It's built in the small, quiet decisions you make every single day. Resilience is built in how you respond when things don't go your way, when your plans are disrupted, when someone criticizes you, when progress is slower than you hoped. Your reaction in those moments determines the strength of your mindset. Do you spiral into frustration or find a way forward? Do you let one setback define the whole day, or do you regroup and reset? These micro decisions may seem minor in the moment, but they are mental training sessions. Every challenge, every delay, every irritation is a chance to train your capacity to endure, adapt, and keep moving. Building resilience is less about avoiding stress and more about learning how to manage it. Life will throw pressure, discomfort, and uncertainty your way whether you're prepared or not. The question is, have you built the internal framework to handle it? Daily habits play a crucial role in that framework. Just like your body grows stronger through physical exercise, your mind becomes more resilient through mental workouts, deliberate routines that test your patience, discipline, focus, and emotional control. Simple daily actions like getting up early, doing hard things without shortcuts, staying consistent with goals, or pausing before reacting. These build the mental muscle memory that you lean on when real adversity hits. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be effective. Sometimes choosing to stay calm during a frustrating conversation is a form of resilience training. Sometimes pushing through when you're unmotivated is another rep in your mental gym. These actions accumulate over time, and eventually the difficult things you once avoided become manageable, even familiar. Resilience is also built in how you talk to yourself. Your internal dialogue during tough moments either weakens you or strengthens you. If your self-talk is negative, I can't do this. Why does this always happen to me? You reinforce helplessness. But if you develop a habit of neutral or empowering language, this is hard, but I can figure out. I've been through worse. You train your mind to search for solutions instead of dwelling on the problem. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It requires daily repetition, just like lifting a weight or learning a skill. Another key part of daily resilience building is learning to sit with discomfort. Most people run from discomfort through distraction, avoidance, or denial. But real growth happens when you lean into it, facing uncomfortable emotions without numbing them, doing things you're not good at without quitting, being okay with uncertainty instead of needing constant control. These moments test your tolerance and, more importantly, increase it. The more you expose yourself to discomfort intentionally, the more capable you become when life throws discomfort